Oh, embodied wisdom seekers, and welcome to the collective reading for the Sagittarius full moon. This is happening on the 3rd or 4th of June, depending on where you live. Welcome everybody, new and returning viewers alike. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel energies through my body. As you can see, my hands are moving around right now. This is independent of my conscious thought. It's one of the ways that I channel. The energies like to come in and integrate messages, clear out stuck energy, help us heal, help us transmit the energies, the messages that want to come in. It's all part of the process. I like to use the astrology because this is tapping into the cycles of energetic transfer that all these celestial bodies have been making for an incredibly long time, and we are a part of it. We exist in that space, and the more that we understand these energies and what's going on in the world energetically, the more that we can make informed decisions, autonomous decisions, and be able to observe the energy if it comes up in difficult ways, take a step back, get some perspective, which is one of the cards that I pulled in my meditation before setting up the altar for today's video. Get some perspective and then be able to co-create with what's going on in the world. I love to pull cards because not only are we getting messages from the divine of how these energies are showing up, but the visual play can help us tap into our imaginative intuition. Right, so a full moon. This is when the sun is opposing the moon, and we have the moon over in Sagittarius and we have the sun over in Gemini. These are all at 13 degrees and 18 minutes. And so a full moon is a culmination. So if we look back to the Sagittarius new moon that we had at the end of the year, last year, we're completing a cycle from that point. Sometimes we can, I don't know, it's not necessarily part of my practice, but moving from the new moon that we've just had, which was in Taurus, to the full moon in Sagittarius. So for those of you who aren't aware, we had 2 Aries new moons this year. And what that's meant is that the new and full moon cycle are a little out of sorts. So we'd have the Taurus full moon and then the Scorpio full moon, because these are signs that are opposite one another. But because we had two moons in Aries, this shifted gears. So we've just had a new moon in Taurus, and now we've got, instead of having the full moon in Scorpio, which happened before the new moon, we're now having the full moon in the next set of lunations. So this is called an inconjunct. Inconjuncts are when 2 signs don't traditionally have things in common with one another. They're of different elements, they're different modalities, and they are different day or night signs. So these are sort of the 3 main key parts of the zodiac that they now have nothing in, technically nothing in common on a surface level. Obviously everything, and I talk about the inconjunct quite a lot in this channel, everything has something in common. This takes a little bit more work to get things into flow. So we're going to be having inconjunct new and full moons, monthly new and full moons. I think it's until the summer next year, when we get a little bit of a reshuffle and go back to having in the other way. But what does that mean? So inconjuncts for me are, yes, they can be difficult. Yes, they can mean cross wires. Yes, it can be a bit frustrating to start off with to get these things to work. But when you find the commonalities, when you understand and are open to different perspectives, you're able to then start thinking differently. You're using different neural pathways. And this brings in maverick energy. This brings in unique ideas and different ways of looking at things. So we've got the cycle from the new moon from Sagittarius last year to this one. So a culmination of the seeds that you planted 6 months ago, how they've grown, how you've established this. And now there's a culmination and an ending of that particular cycle. But we also have the shorter version of that, which is from that Taurus new moon that we had to this Sagittarius new moon. And this is a culmination in a way that we might not have thought of, right? So we might have dealt with it a little differently if this had been the Scorpio full moon. So we've got different energies coming at us in different ways that are helping us bring in different dynamics. So I'm finding this quite interesting that we've had after that hybrid eclipse in Aries, which for me was very much a soul integration, very much a sort of a reboot. Hybrid eclipses happen once every 10 years. And we are in the process of integrating that soul connection that we have to our past lives and our future lives, as well as this present moment. They're kind of all in a bit more in harmony and in lockstep with each other. That's very interesting. So this card sort of half wanted to come out. And I didn't let it, and then it's come out again. So I'm talking about the inconjunct, okay? So this is implying that, so this is, I always use the example of having a conversation with someone you've got nothing in common, and you feel like there's a boundary behind you being able to be free and be able to express yourselves and engage in that situation. The Eight of Swords is essentially a cage of your own making. You see here this figure is under the illusion, and this card is very much about illusion, under the illusion that they are trapped by a cage of swords. And they're not. And all this person needs to do is just move a little bit, change, because the binds aren't that tight. And it's saying about changing perspectives, of moving, of shaking up the status quo. Shaking up the status quo, and if this figure just shuffled just a little bit, the binds would come down and they would be able to remove the blindfold and the fact that they are free. This can be a very difficult card to come up because sometimes we very much get trapped in our own boxes, our own mental cages. I talk a lot about addiction in terms on this channel because I feel like the whole human race is addicted in numerous different ways. And the more that we're open and we accept that and we don't put shame around that, the more that we're able to set ourselves free. But this is also linked into the fact that, and for those of you regulars, I say this a lot, that the mind is an addict. The mind is addicted to the hormones you produce from the feelings that you feel, from the things that your mind is telling you. And the hormones that are very easily accessible, that can be produced very quickly, are cortisol and adrenaline. And when our mind can get stuck in a loop of needing that, feeding off of that, and when our bodies are constantly in sympathetic nervous state, and this is when we're in fight and flight mode, which we should only be in like 0.8% of the time, right? But most of us are in it all of the time. When we are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline for a long period of time, we actually can't think anymore. Like our brain stops having the capacity to think outside of that box, to think differently, to bring these two, the inconjunct is finding new ways out of a situation, finding new creative dynamic energies that can flow in a way that was unexpected. So breaking out of habits, breaking out of stuck ideas. And this is so crucial because we're dealing with mutable energy. We're dealing with mutable energy for this full moon. And this is the ability to change direction. Now, I do have to say, I had pre-recorded about 15 minutes and then had, instead of pausing the video, because I needed to take a drink of water, instead of pausing the video, I ended up stopping it. And this was actually the first card that came out when I was talking about this full moon. Now, we're dealing with Sagittarius here, which is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is in Taurus. And this card was the first card that came out in the Taurus new moon. So very much linking in that new moon. We've got the cycle from the new moon in Sagittarius, which is about 6 months, and then we've got the cycle of from the last new moon to this full moon. And this was the first card, as I said, that came out in the Taurus new moon. It's the first card that came out in this one. And for me, it's a catch-all phrase, but new earth. Right, so new earth for me isn't about shaming and rejecting the 3D form. This is about the 3D reality. This is about embodying 5D intentions in our 3D form, of being able to go through a portal and still be in this physical world, but operating from it. If you see here, there is a mountain through this portal. Mountains represent higher perspectives. This is about, engaging with things with a little more understanding of the nuances of the reality that we're in, the nuances and magic of the universe, and being able to cultivate and bring joy and harmony to the 3D world. And I love that that's the first card that wanted to come out for this Sagittarius full moon. I'm just gonna have to pause for a second because I do have a bit of a cough remaining from doing all the Taurus videos. So do bear with me. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, there's some cards on the table. So I always pull some cards from some different decks for these lunations, and just to let you know that they're here. And when I'm called to bring them in, that's when they'll come in about. I'll be mostly pulling from the Rider-Waite today in the collective reading. So Sagittarius full moon. Let's go back to what a full moon might show up as for us all. So I don't know if you have anyone who's a teacher or works in a hospital or part of the emergency services, that across the board they will all say that around the full moon things get a bit crazy. We're dealing with howling at the moon of that wildness, because our unconscious space, the moon, is being illuminated by the sun, the direct vitality, the vision. So the moon is our intuition, how we nourish ourselves, how we nourish others. It's our emotional body. And the sun is that vitality, that vision, that direction, that clarity that we can get. And so the light of the sun is shining fully on our unconscious space. So it becomes very out and proud and loud in the moment. And so this is why hospitals get a bit fuller, school kids get a bit wilder, and all of those sorts of things, because it's our unconscious space is very, very loud during full moons. And so this may show up in your life like it's either going to be a culmination of the work that you've been doing. It can also be all of these things. I've found with astrology that I get hit from 5 different angles, all of the things showing where I've come and what I've done and how I've grown, but also highlighting what about this bit and what about that bit, and can you sit in this moment from a space of peace. So it can show up in your life where other people, situations can get triggered and can respond in ways, or in dealing with things that you think you've already sorted out. And as I said, these are usually moments for you to either reflect on what this is trying to teach you and try and show you. It's either showing you through whether you respond to it that, okay, this is still showing up, but you're dealing with it in a different way, or it's a mirror to something that you needed to look at. Or a general sort of little pat on the back and go, well done, you've been doing really well. Here's something to show you, to help you understand the journey that you've been on. Sometimes we can so often forget. So that's the kind of full moon energy. As I said, this can be exhibited in the world around you, personal relationships, generally when you're out and about in the outside world, or through your own trigger responses, and all of these things. Nothing to feel ashamed or like, oh, I thought I'd done this, or I thought I'd got through this. Why is this still showing up? These are always very valuable teaching moments from the universe to go, no, you've got this. And you've got this even if you're interacting with those trauma responses, right? Even if you're dealing with a situation where you're like, oh, this isn't the kind of energy I want to be around. It also helps you realize that and go, okay, where's the line in the sand that you're drawing? How are you making that integral and moving through that in a way that you're still embodying your core needs and your core wants? Full moons, big culminations. This is when we then, with the energy of the full moon, we then bring that back into the ground. So this is, often with plants, they're from the new to the full moon, the leaves are all growing, right? And from the full moon To the new moon, the roots are now growing. So you've explored, you've expanded during this, and now you're drawing it back into the earth, you're drawing it back into your body, and you're instilling that in your space. And so, yeah, so that's the kind of what this culmination, we then bring it back down to earth. So Sagittarius, right? Let's get on to Sagittarius. So I've talked about journeying. I've talked about philosophies. I've talked about ideals and being trapped in mind and being able to change your mind. So how does this all relate to Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius is the collective fire sign. It's the last fire sign in the zodiac. It is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the great expander, the wisdom keeper. Is linked into gurus, priests, teachers, universal truths, and the law. Jupiter wants you to elevate, expand, bring wisdom into your life, a sense of innate confidence, a sense of knowing, a sense of peace. Jupiter, the planet, actually, I recommend... got the Four of Wands. Jupiter the planet, actually, and I recommend checking out the Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus series, because I talk about Jupiter a lot more, because we've all had that big transition of Jupiter moving into Taurus. And so, interestingly, the new moon that we just had, Jupiter had just moved in there into Taurus, and now the second lunation is a Jupiter lunation. We just got the Four of Wands, and this is about putting in the hard work and then celebrating. This is a culmination. This is a mark of... it's linked into the harvests take about a year, and so this is saying that what you've been working on, what you've been doing, is now coming to a culmination phase. They've just wanted to go over to this card, so I'll pick it up. This is from the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. All the decks go in the description box, and this is Fall Into My Arms, surrender, holding the opposites, extremes of life. So this is Jupiter's call to you to surrender to the experience, to surrender to the knowledge that we have come far, that we have grown, and we've put in the hard work, and we are allowed to celebrate. But I like how it said holding on to the opposites, because we're dealing with Jupiter here, which, as I said, the reason why Jupiter's linked into luck and opportunities is because of this desire for us to understand our own innate wisdom. And the more that we get in touch with that frequency, the more that the opportunities around us turn up, and they feel like they're lucky. But it's more that wherever Jupiter is having just this very open, expansive knowing, this sense of containing the whole. Jupiter can fit all of the planets within it, of holding the individual in this collective. And the more that we feel held, so fall into my arms, Jupiter is saying, like, I can support you, I can protect you, I've got your back. And this is a moment of acknowledging that we are being held. So Jupiter, jovial, generous, the greater benefic. So a lot of just comfort and ease with this full moon. Just sense of just feeling good in your body because it's in Taurus, Jupiter's in Taurus, and how it's affecting where you're planning your next journey. Right, so Sagittarius, mutable fire. So this is changeable fire. So we have three modalities in the zodiac. We have cardinal. Cardinal is the leadership, the instigator, the wanting to start things and get things going. Fixed energy. Got the Two of Cups. So this is about union. This is about connection. This is about respect. This is about equality. And it's reminding me of something that I'm going to talk about with you all in a little bit, about this video that I watched this morning, actually. And it involves a Gemini sun and two people, a Gemini sun and a Sagittarius moon, talking to each other. And it's one of those moments when you realize that the universe, creator energy can obviously use technology, right? So we can be very scared of technology, but it's just a tool. It's what we do with it. And very often the divine creator energy comes through and draws things towards you. And it's like, okay, well, there's that. And I knew I was going to do the video today, so that was quite amusing. But what I was talking about was mutable energy. So cardinal leadership instigates things. It's making me think about that Aries new moon that we had, instigating this union of souls. And I was thinking about how this is the second fire lunation that we've had since that. And it made me think about the cycles of the moons and how they're all layered upon one another. And this is a sort of a bringing together, it's really sort of reinforcing that shift and change within us from the creation energy, because fire is the highest, the lightest element. It's linked into spirit. It's not bound by gravity. It's very engulfing. And now we've gone from that cardinal energy of Aries, of instigating that soul integration, and now we've got this fire full moon that's sort of opening up the space for us to draw in those different timelines, those different parts of our soul's journey, to feel like we are supported. To feel like we are supported and in balance and in harmony with one another. Okay, they're wanting to just do that. Okay, so mutable energy, right? So we've got that cardinal energy instigating, starting things. We've then had the fixed energy, which continues what the cardinal energy was doing, maintains it, keeps it going. And then we have mutable. And mutable takes what the fixed energy, what was good about that fixed energy, shifts and changes, you know, that adaptability of being able to then move into the next cycle when we then start the cardinal again. So it's taking what's worth taking, leaving behind what hasn't worked. It's fine if things don't work. That's just part of the process. And then being able to change direction and shift and go into a different space and be comfortable with it. Just realised, sorry, I just had to pause because I do have a bit of a cough, that I should have, because those cards are wanting to be on this, is Earth School. Life lessons, soul growth, study, higher learning. So we signed up to be in this space. In my personal opinion, our souls signed up for this, and we are here to grow and transmute. The human body has the vast capacity of breaking cycles, guys, and we are here to evolve and raise up the energy more in alignment. That takes hard work. It takes hard work. Shift and change our perspective, welcoming in through union with self, through integration of all the different parts of who you are. Realize that everything around you is a mirror and a reflection, and hold true to your inner integrity, this sense of respect and balance and harmony of the masculine, feminine and spirit within you. And be able to start afresh in this 3D realm with a sense of peace and celebration. But it doesn't mean that there isn't hard work to do, but there's nothing wrong with hard work. Okay, where was I? Keep getting around to mutable. So a lot of my chart is fixed energy. For those of you who are regulars, you're aware, you may be familiar with that. I have very little mutable in terms of planets and or asteroids, actually. I have my sun in Virgo, and I am forever grateful to that mutable energy, that ability to go, every day is a school day. Right, my fixed ideas have the capacity to change. It's all about change and movement, and being able to be in the flow. Obviously, all the mutable signs have different agendas. Everyone's got their own space of what that means to them. But for Sagittarius, okay, so Sagittarius, the symbol of Sagittarius, the figure is a half horse, half human, and they are the archer. They have a bow, and the bow and the arrow represent direction. This point in the distance that we are headed to, that we are moving to. But the mutability brings in the fact that you don't have to plan the journey. You don't have to plan the journey. Just have a sort of an understanding, a felt sense, an idea of moving forward, but being able to be very open to digressions, open to shifts and change in that journey, to not always knowing what's going to go on, and have a smile on your face while you're doing it. Because Jupiter is the greater benefic, wants to help you out. And the energy of Jupiter, as I said, can be very jovial, very happy, very generous. There's just a bit more of a smile on your face. You're just being able to tackle things, tackle what comes your way with flow. There's a lot of magic with mutability, because it is all about change. It is all about movement, and duality. So interestingly, we had on the Fall Into My Arms card, we had holding the opposites. So we've got this half human, half horse. So acknowledging, it kind of reminds me of the Strength card, which I did want to poke out earlier, which has a lion and a person on it. And this is about the sort of the animal instinctive side of us, and I mean, these are very sort of crude dichotomies. Like, the animal kingdom is incredibly sensitive and has so much magic within it, and we know very little about the consciousness of other species, and yet we prioritize ourselves. Well, we have done. That's definitely changing in certain ways, because we have certain ideas of what something should be. This mutability is like every day is a school day. Be open to change, but also be open to holding space for everything and having love for all of it. So that Strength card is about, through love and kindness, you bring these things together and get them to work together. Again, you can say that about the inconjunct. Like, don't come into it combative and be like, oh, well, this feels difficult, this feels different because I'm not comfortable, this is not what I'm used to. And just be open, and be really, really, really open to new perspectives. So with that half horse, half human, it's like being able to embody and bring those two parts of ourselves, our cognitive higher mind with our mammalian body, that survival mechanisms, reproduction, all of those things that are very 3D, and bringing them into harmony and taking them on a journey. Sagittarius is typically known of wanting to go and expand and travel. That doesn't just have to be in the physical world. That can be the philosophy, the sort of contemplations of the universe, all of those things. But certainly this idea of expansion and traveling, and movement. And as I said, there's an ease with Jupiter. It can expand and be very, very generous. So we've got this Sagittarius energy, our moon, our emotional needs of the people in Sagittarius, and it's at 13 degrees 18 minutes, and it's conjunct what's called the Great Attractor. I might try and find a good video that breaks down like what the Great Attractor is in the 3D world, and it's essentially this point in the universe that our galaxy and a lot of other galaxies are being pulled towards. It's a bit of an anomaly. It's not a black hole, and there's lots of that we don't know about it. And that's it. I think it's a 14 degrees and so many minutes. So this moon is very much on top of that. One of the things about the Great Attractor is it bends light, and you're able to sort of see on the other side. So it's this sense of being compelled towards clarity, being compelled towards truth, and finding the universal truth of that. And we're all being pulled towards it. And this moon is sort of bringing that into the forefront, on how our unconscious space is opening up and drawing in the resonance of the Great Attractor. We are able to embody it. We're able to have that energy be seeded into us at the peak of the moon. And then, as I said at the beginning, this means when the moon starts waning, this is when we're drawing all of that energy inward. We're embodying it. It might get reflected in our actions and our deeds until the next cycle. Getting quite excited today. So that's the moon in Sagittarius. Again, very expansive energy. There's a need for just have, I keep wanting to say the same phrase, have a smile on your face. You know, we've got the happy Buddha here. I've been talking about that a lot in my videos because I feel like it's not trying to spiritually bypass difficult situations, not at all. But what I love about mutability is you can hold space for different things. Right, so you can be really sad and really upset about something. You can feel really triggered. You can feel like the knife has been stabbed into you, but at the same time, you can smile at the ridiculousness of the human experience, right? You can smile at the moon because she is so very beautiful, without negating, without diminishing or separating or rejecting those sensations, those feelings. So mutable energy is very much about duality as well. There's this sense of being open to the light and the dark and all the shades of grey in between. And so this is also highlighted by the fact that we have the sun in Gemini. I don't know about you, but I haven't necessarily been feeling the Gemini energy as strongly. We've recently had a Mercury retrograde. Mercury went direct a while ago, but has only just finished going over the degrees that it retrograded over, and there's still been a very sluggish heaviness to communication, to collecting information. It's been more embodied and there's been a slowness to it. And whoa, so Ace of Cups. So we've got two aces. Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. And I'm kind of feeling with this one when I'm talking about the Mercury retrograde is we've needed this slowness. We've needed to take our time. We've needed to engage and digest and just breathe for a moment without having all the answers in order to get to a state of renewal. In order to get to a space where we feel replenished before then taking the next action, feeling emotionally confident in how we embody ourselves. Because the reason why I'm talking about the Mercury retrograde is because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and so whatever's going on with Mercury is affecting what's going on with Gemini. So we've had this this drawing inwards and so let's carry that chain on to get to the root of the Ace of Cups. So Mercury's in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in Cancer, which is a water sign, so bringing in this Ace of Cups. After this full moon, she will have just come out, we're feeling it now, with a trine with Neptune. And this is the mystical and magical world, all the dimensions, all the frequencies of Neptune, this unconditional love of Pisces, again, mutable energy, feeding into this collective emotional space, feeding in to our individual emotional space where Venus is, and our intuition. And really through this stillness, through this slowness that we've been going through, we have been topped up. We have been like a power up. Even if it might not feel like it at the time, it is it's seeding in here for us to be able to go on to the next step. Right, so back to the sun in Gemini. So Gemini, the fastest moving sign in the zodiac. It is mutable air. It's how you connect on an individual level to information, ideas, all of those air constructs on a personal level, and it's ruled by Mercury, so one of the fastest moving celestial bodies in the solar system, so very, very fast. It's this duality with Gemini. Gemini likes word games, collecting information, sharing information, not really holding back, not feeling restrained by convention, by the norm, and just being able to express itself very independently. And so with all mutable signs, we've got this Jupiter-Mercury opposition. So Virgo's Mercury and Pisces is Jupiter. So we've got this Mercury, the herald of the gods, opposing Jupiter, the king of the gods. And how does this break down for us? Well, Mercury is how we collect information. It's the kind of information we want to collect, where we're focused on engaging in it, how we sharing with it, how we moving about in the world. It's linked into commerce and travelers, and it's this pleasure in the details. Now, Jupiter is very much linked into philosophies and universal law, and this is kind of like things that you feel are right in your bones, but you don't necessarily know all the details about it. It's more linked into faith than trying to figure things out. It's not that Jupiter isn't trying to figure things out, but there's sort of the more broader, bigger perspectives than the small details of the day-to-day. So we have this combination of the sun. This is the direction, the vitality, it is the illumination, is, you know, sometimes linked into our conscious mind, and this ability to collect information, to digest information. This is the first time the sun has gone into Gemini since we had that very, very long Mars retrograde for most of, when was it, August last year up until, when did it leave? Was it January? Sorry, I'm quite terrible with dates. They tend to drop out of my head. Very, very long time. So now the sun is moving through here and shining a light on how we collect that information. How are we open to that? Are we, you know, so that Mars transit for me in Gemini was very much about, can we be around people who have different ideas without kicking off? Like, are we open to explore ideas, even if they are not our own? Do we have the capacity to do that? And what is important to us? Like, how do we get to the fundamentals of the value system that we have that doesn't get fixated on a certain direction? So we got that mutability of being open to change, being open to adjusting based on new information, what we're drawing in. So we have this sun here holding space for these big philosophies and ideas coming from the great attractor, you know, this very potent, compulsive drawing in of the truths, of universal truths of Sagittarius. As I said, Jupiter's linked into priests, gurus, teachers, the law, like just sort of fundamentals of ethics and philosophies. And Mercury's in Gemini is just enjoying collecting that information and wanting to share it, wanting to hold space for this download. This unity, just had an energetic release then. This unity, as I said, like Jupiter can hold all of the planets of the solar system within it. You know, this ability, but without diminishing the individual parts. This isn't about denying people of their expression. So we've got the sun opposing the moon, and I want to bring in this particular video that I watched this morning, and it was Russell Brand. I'll put a link to the video in the description box. I've always enjoyed Russell for a long time. I really enjoy the way that he communicates. It can get a little repetitive sometimes, but that's the same with any speaker. There's certain ways and phrases in which they say, and you know, this is just a very normal thing. But he is doing a wonderful job at providing hints and ideas of what's going on underneath the surface of everything. And helping provide alternative media to the mainstream news that it hasn't had our back for a very long time. He's someone who's a good sort of gateway into non-mainstream media. And he was doing a little interview with Omid Djalali, who is a fellow British comedian. And so Russell Brand has his son at, let me just get his chart up. I'll probably talk more about him on the Gemini new moon. He has his son at 12 degrees. So that's where 1 degree away from the sun. And Omid has his moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. So they're opposing each other. And what happened is that Russell Brand was holding space, allowing for that information to come through, that wisdom to come through of what Omid wanted to say. And the main thing that I took away from it was there were lots of things being spoken about, was finding out about Omid's religion, which is the Baha'i, I've probably said that wrong. I will put it in the description box. Faith. And this is a faith that accepts and opens all religions and calls for unity, right? So that for me felt very much about what this energy of this new moon is trying to bring in. And it doesn't just have to be about faith. This can be something very personal to you. This, you know, I've talked about the soul integration, which the great attractors on of pulling all these different energies from all these different galaxies that, you know, we may or may not have been in one way or a form another, depending all the dimensions, you know the story, that is pulling all of that together and instilling it into our emotional body. But I really liked the combination of these two energies of being open to information, being open to each other without needing to have a fight. So we've got the King of Wands here, and it's making me think about how Russell Brand has his midheaven at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. So this is fire energy, the King of Wands. This is passion, creativity, and he has it in the 12th house, right? The 12th house is the hidden house. So where our midheaven falls is sort of where it adds a layer onto the 10th house, which is our life purpose. And this is in the hidden house, revealing of secrets. Russell's very good at that. He's always been very speaking his mind and not and sidestepping conventional norms, which again, I'm bringing both of these energies in because we are dealing with the sun and the moon here. And we've got the King of Wands taking action to reveal the truth, finding creative, inspirational outlets to be able to express ourselves. You know, the main part of that video was actually talking about what's going on in Iran, and why we don't hear much about it in the news. I won't say any more and let people make up their own minds about what they were talking about. But I just thought it was so funny that came up just the day I was going to be doing this video. Right, let's get Russell's chart off. Another thing I wanted is is personal to me, but sometimes I've just find like I start embodying this energy quite early on. And this week I was doing a personal reading for somebody who was a Sagittarius rising. And in the lead up, I usually write notes for these videos. And I usually write notes for my private readings, not just the combinations of the planets and some buzzwords. But for these two, I was have no interest in writing notes. I don't have any notes with me today. I'm just looking at the chart while I'm talking to you. And it's that kind of carefree, let's just go, let's just do it of Sagittarius. And I see it so often in the people that I know and clients, that there is this sort of freedom to roam, right? And I'm envious of it because I've got a Virgo sun, and my Virgo sun traditionally, I mean, she's getting better, of plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Must make sure I've got absolutely everything I need for any possible environment or situation to be prepared. And that's just not the Sagittarian vibe. This is just like, let's enjoy this experience. Let's go, let's do, let's, again, have a smile on your face. And it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to do that in this crazy, crazy 3D world. But I feel like we're all going to get a real boost, this culmination. I do apologize. They keep wanting to do to respond to what I'm saying. We're not letting the cards come out. What was I saying? We're really getting a boost at this full moon to help us integrate what a lot of the messages for the last couple of lunations and the transits have been coming up in doing this channel is the energies really want us to be able to find some kind of peace and joy in this 3D realm, right? I think they're very aware of the chaos, very aware of the disruption, very aware of this futility that we can sometimes feel. And they just, especially Jupiter moving into Taurus, just want us to be able to create space, a bit more space, to be able to enjoy the journey, to be able to smell the roses. Just take those, the more that we take those little moments, the more we move outside of planning and open to the possibilities of the universe, the more that we're just retelling our brain that there is another way, of engaging in this 3D world. And it takes time, it takes effort. But with those two aces coming in, that's really powerful. That's saying, even though this is a full moon, with this full moon, we are starting a new journey. Goodness me, 45 minutes and I haven't really got into the astrology. Right, so we're dealing with a full moon. So we look to what's going on with the sun and the moon. So the moon. Oh, let's go back to Jupiter and Mercury. So both Jupiter and Mercury, the rulers of Sagittarius and Gemini, are in Taurus. So we've got this energetic, mutable energy of fire and air. Fire and air, not bound by gravity. They want to take action. They are yang day signs. They want to just strive ahead and do and be, right? But they are being governed by their rulers who are in Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. It's a very slow sign. It's ruled by Venus. And it's wanting us to really get in touch with our bodies and the enjoyment of the 3D world. We've got Page of Pentacles coming in, messages coming in from our physical body, is what I've definitely been exploring and working with all this Taurian energy. That through just listening to what my body wants, I'll get messages. Come through. I'll get memories come back. I'll get clues about things that I've forgotten, ideas that I've forgotten. Because what we're dealing with this lunation is that fixed earth energy, that Venusian energy is being governed by the moon. Because Venus is over there nearly finishing her transit in Cancer. And the moon is memory. The moon is intuition. The moon is our emotional needs and how we nourish ourselves. And so even though there's a lot of action going on here, all of this energy is being governed by water or earth, right? So we've got that replenishment coming on with Venus there of being in the physical world and being able to draw in constructs and ideas and passions and motivations for our continued journey while maintaining the wonder and beauty and the strength and the power of our physical body, of our emotional body, and how much wisdom is there and how much magic is there. So, messages coming through, wisdom coming through from your physical body, from your slow down. Sit down. Sit down. Put those burdens down. Just for a moment. Just for a moment. Here, there, and everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. Just give yourself, you know, like I said, finding those moments to be able to appreciate the journey that you've been on, appreciate where you're headed, to be able to lighten the load, even if the load is still there, to be able to look at things differently, to be able to change your perspective. This is the card of I Remember, soul plan, the fated life first versus the destiny life. So there are things in our lives that we can't avoid, but it's how we engage in it, how we step up to it, how do we navigate that. A lot of the readings have been about soul contracts being coming to completion. You know, the 10 of Wands is about completion. It's about that sense of burden. It might not be that the burden or the amount of work that you have disappears, but it's how you engage in it, how you engage into it. What are they doing? Renewal coming through. We've got over here with the surrender, holding opposites, extremes of life, that Page of Pentacles and the King of Wands. So really highlighting that through messages are coming through in the physical world, in our physical body, that are giving us ideas about how to take action. Right, so everything, so then, right, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, who's ruling Mercury and Jupiter right now, is in Cancer. So that's ruled by the moon. So Venus is being governed by the moon, but there's now got a feedback loop. So the moon's in a Jupiter sign, Jupiter's in Venus's sign. So we're moving from the moon, Jupiter, Venus, back to the moon. So we've got this cycle of higher wisdom, innate wisdom, a sense of expansion, of joviality. With Venus, what do we love and appreciate? How are we getting creative about that? Lots of fire coming out, not surprising. How do we get creative about that? How do we fulfill our deep needs, our nourishing needs? And then we've got the moon. So this wanted to be for the moon. We've got the Knight of Wands coming in, defending our creative passion, our joy to live, our spring in our step, our desire to journey, whether that's, you know, travels are difficult right now for so many different reasons. We're all, our purses are all being tightened, you know. There's difficulties, but we can, I think this moon is saying don't lose hope for exploration. Don't lose the joy of movement. Don't get trapped into that 10 of Wands and that 8 of Swords. We can expand in different ways. And even if it's difficult right now, it doesn't mean it's going to be difficult in the future. To not lose hope, to have that smile fall from our faces. My hands have just gone to either side of my mouth and now to my heart chakra. The good, the bad, and the ugly, to be able to champion our own existence. You know, that Knight of Wands wanting to be, you know, the message from the moon. You know, it's a day yang sign of wanting to take action, but it's, for me, it's a culmination of how we're moving forward, and how we can champion that inner spark within us. You know, they're holding the Ace of Wands here, of the virility, the vitality, that spark, that expansive, changeable fire that can, that magnetism. just help us be able to roam in ways that we might not have imagined before. You know, we are dealing with the great attractor, which is very far away and a very powerful, potent energy that is drawing us towards it. It's drawing the Milky Way, it's drawing other, I can't remember how many galaxies did it say it had. Did I keep that tab open? No, I did not. I'm going to put a link to an article written by somebody who talks about the great attractor a lot more. So we've got this, interchangeable energy between Jupiter, Venus, and the moon. So lovely energy that's supportive. So we've got the two benefics, Venus and Jupiter, and the moon, who wants us to get in touch with our true emotional needs, our true instinctive responses that are underneath underneath all the trauma and the limiting beliefs, which is kind of what the Emperor embodies, right? This is Aries energy, but this is wisdom and command and control and being able to take action that is based on long-term longevity, and not only for you but for your community around you, because the more that we embody the Emperor energy, which, as I said about the moon, like getting beyond, below, clearing out those trauma responses, clearing out those limiting beliefs, and the more that we understand our own journey, we don't shame it, we don't hide from it, we don't resent it, give it a big old cuddle, give it the Ace of Cups, love, give some sense of peace and abundance to that space that we might for the difficult parts of us that we might find hard to look at. Gemini and Sagittarius is all about inclusion, understanding, even if it's like sort of holding space for loads of different things. Like this is the mutable energy of I want to say compassion, but it's just acceptance. You know, the constant thing in the universe is change, guys. And yeah, so the Emperor energy of clearing through this boost that we're getting from the moon, clearing. Okay, they've just wanted to go over the chamber of the violet flame. So this is the Carl Gray gateway of light activation. And let's see what this, I remember I read the blurb and I was like, there's something in that I want to communicate with you. The violet flame is a spiritual retreat space that holds a powerful energy of transformation and transmutation. It can be visited in meditation and invoked through prayer and affirmation. Spiritually, it's seen within a chamber, often as a giant roaring flame, and sometimes with silver and gold shining through the violet. When we connect with the violet flame, we are being given the opportunity to detach from lower vibrational experiences and turn darkness into light. So that's quite amusing to me, because of Scorpio is all about going into the darkness, not being afraid of it, and digging up the light and passing it to Sagittarius, because Sagittarius can be a bit of the preacher, and can want to, now that they feel like they know something, to be able to communicate that with everybody, to spread the word, that mutable energy. But also always remember to question yourself at all times, guys, even if you think you know what's what. So it says karmic release, a radical transformation. So lots of fire energy coming through here, saying there is, you know, forest fires help bring in new growth. So we just got that Ace of Cups with the Two of Cups there, with the I remember your soul's plan. You know, love is one of the fundamentals of the universe, in my opinion. And through, as I was saying, that forest fires help bring in new growth, and nutrients from that fire feed into the earth, and create a space for new understanding and new possibilities to come into play. Right, ultimately, this is the gateway of alchemy. Alchemy is the art of turning lead into gold. And so from an energetic perspective, the violet flame is where we place all that is leaden and heavy in our life and turn it into a golden opportunity. So with alchemy, it's lead is Saturn, and gold is the sun. So it's about through the karmic cycles of the energetic transfer that we have that holds us down in order to take that journey and to explore into the sunlight and find vision and clarity to the difficulties that we've been through the behavior mechanisms that we might not necessarily feel are our own, but we still take them. Let's just see what else this says. Okay, when you receive this card, know that the violet flame of transformation has been brought to you by your angels and guides. They are encouraging you to see that you are in a space of radical transformation. Transformation can be overwhelming, but know the hand of the divine is leading the way. All past trauma is now being cleared from your energy. Stay focused on releasing all of the energies that no longer serve you. The violet flame is here to transmute fear into love. If any fear is rising up inside of you now, know that it is simply a call for love. That's exactly what I was saying about not shaming or rejecting any of the shadow or the ego. That love is always the answer. It's the strongest form of energy. Our hearts have an electromagnetic field of 3 feet, and our minds of 2 inches. Right. Okay, let us continue. So what aspects are the sun and the moon making? Well, the sun is conjunct Juno, which I love. The sun, for the sort of rest of the Gemini transit, will be pretty much in lockstep with Juno. Juno is an asteroid, and she represents, very interestingly, she's the wife of Jupiter. So we've got the energies of Jupiter and the moon opposing, in opposition with Juno. But I really like Juno and the sun together, because it's like, what ideas are we committing to? Or are we committing to our ability to share information that might make people feel uncomfortable, right? Gemini doesn't tend to give a damn about that sort of thing. It's the fun of it. It's the play of it. It's information. It doesn't... It both serves you and is irrelevant at the same time, that duality. And Juno's there of being like, okay, how are we committing to the vision of this information that's coming in, of this downloads, of these transfers that are coming in from the great attractor? So Juno there, helping the sun out of finding so commitment in terms of sticking by something through thick and thin in the long term. Like, what is worth sticking to? What is worth integrating? What is worth being... So they've just gone over the word soul growth. And interesting, on that card it says study and higher learning. So those are very much Jupiterian themes of constantly being in the state of questioning and exploring. More sort of riddles and parables with the Jupiterian energy. I certainly know a lot of Sagittarius people who the way that they communicate their understanding of the universe is very... There's a lyricism, there's an imagination, there's it's not the here are the details. It's sort of, here's a construct I'm going to conjure up, and you're going to be able to explore it through your own imagination. So we've got the sun conjunct Juno, this sense of commitment, and with opposition. So this is, as I said, right, so they're full moons, we deal with oppositions. Oppositions can highlight which area of your life you might have been putting too much focus on. There's a need to get into balance with an opposition, and realizing you're all on the same page. So I like that Juno is here with the sun, of saying, we can have these universal truths. We can have an understanding of the bigger picture, but we're still going to commit to the exploration of bringing in new information, right? That Gemini energy. What else is going on in the chart? Well, the ruler. Let's carry on with the sun. The ruler of the sun is Gemini, and the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, as I was saying. So Mercury has finally come out of its shadow phase. It was around 15 degrees. Oh, that's a lot of cards. Do we want those? Nope. That was the Death card. We'll see if that comes up. It comes up again. And the Eight of Cups of having gone on a journey and realised what we needed to let go of. I kind of feel like that's about the Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I just had a response from the energies and they're like, yeah. Right, so, but we're now out of that. Mercury's picking up speed now. It's going to be whizzing through Gemini soon in its own sign. But at the moment, will be at the time of this full moon, will be at 19 degrees, 33 minutes, and it's conjunct Uranus at 20 degrees, 22 minutes. So it's just shy of a degree away. This is a very powerful conjunction. We've got Uranus here, which is the maverick of the solar system. It wants you to be able to embody your unique self and not worry about judgment or cares from society. It wants you to be free to express your individual form of the universe. It can shake things up, like radical changes, flipping things on its head. And I really like how Mercury's first conjunction after that long retrograde is with Uranus. So we've got how we collect information, how we communicate that information, what kind of information do we like collecting, what we're focusing on, coming into conjunction with Uranus. Very much can be linked into technology, but it's more those eureka moments, those ideas that are outside of the norms of society, and that can come in many different ways. It just doesn't have to be about technology, but certainly, yeah, this innovative eureka moments coming in with this full moon. So not long after this full moon, Mercury will be conjunct Uranus, so we're going to get a lot. We're getting downloads from those two already, but it's going to sort of really explode around the time of the exact conjunction. And that is after we've just received this big energetic download from the great attractor. And this is helping bring in... So we're dealing with Taurus here, right? So this is our physical senses, our physical body, really being able to connect to it in a very different way, with the wisdom and powerful energy of that great attractor, feeding into our understanding, our sense of knowing in our physical bodies, because Jupiter is over there in Taurus impacting the moon. So both of these planets, Mercury and Jupiter are in Taurus. So all of this information, as I said, that Page of Pentacles is coming through our body, reacting and responding to our 3D form in a different way. Finding a bit more grace, a bit more ease, a bit more flow. Jupiter brings confidence. Yeah, so that's pretty powerful stuff between Uranus and Mercury. Another ace. I think we got 3 aces for that new moon in Taurus. This is pretty phenomenal. We've got so much fire. That new moon in Taurus was pretty much all pentacles. So we've got the Ace of Wands. This is what I was talking about, the Knight of Wands is carrying. This is about virility, vitality, new creative passion coming in, a fresh new start. But what I like about this ace is it's got a castle here, which is kind of representing stability, a sense of structure, a sense of safety, a sense of feeling at home with your creative passions, with this drive, this momentum to live. I was about to say, this is also connected to Vesta. So I'll put the chart up on the community page if you want to look at it. So Vesta is an asteroid. She's at 22 degrees of Taurus. So we've got Mercury at 19, Uranus at 20, and Vesta at 2022. Vesta is about tending to your inner flame, the sacredity of your human body. A very fundamental feminine goddess energy of the hearth, of the home, of what we used to gather around to communicate with one another. Cooking food, keeping us warm, but it's about the internal domestic flame, that space of sacredity within you, with Uranus and Mercury feeding into the sun, right? So this is that combination, feeding into the sun. We've got the six of, so interestingly, this is coming up with the sun, where it's, you know, an air sign, and swords are air signs. This is the Six of Swords. This is about having been through a difficult time, a bumpy ride. We've got water here that's sort of symbolizing a bit of turbulence, and sixes represent protection. So these figures here, they're taking what's tried and tested to a new land. It's about journeying, but they're being protected. They are being guided through this from a space of support. If you notice here, the water is very calm. So having gone through a bit of a difficult time, it's now taking on a journey into a new way of looking at things. And so this Mercury Uranus energy of being able to contemplate what's important with Vesta, of like what's let's get to the fundamentals. Having Mercury been retrograde, so you've been figuring out what's important to you, you're taking what's truly important, you're taking what you truly need onto this next journey. You're getting rid of the chaff, getting rid of, where's that Eight of Swords, getting rid of, where is it all, where did it all go, guys? Oh, it's underneath the remembering to look at what you've been through with a sense of, okay, I signed up for this. And I know that might be triggering for people because collectively we've all been through a lot and it's all incredibly difficult, but certainly been part of my practice that the more I come to accept these things, the more I'm not bound by them. So this is about having gone through this space, that we're taking what's tried and tested, and it's not the Eight of Swords. It's not that. It's there's new vitality coming in. The Knight of Swords is helping strengthen you on this. You know, we've got swords and we've got wands here, so we're dealing with air and fire, which is what this lunation's all about, as well as some lovely water coming in and pentacles from the Jupiter and Venus aspect. That there's just a refreshness, a renewal, a completion, integration of how we look at our passions, how we look at how our mind communicates with us. It just feels like there's an elevation happening in the mental sphere with the sense of wisdom, right? So we're dealing with Mercury and Jupiter, and these two, when we combine them, we're able to find the wisdom in the small details. So love that. So Jupiter is conjunct the North Node and opposing the South Node. It's got the Eight of Wands, more fire, and the North Node with Jupiter. So this is about finding wisdom, embodied wisdom of where we're headed. And with the Eight of Wands, this is kind of like, it's one of the fastest cards in the deck. And this is okay, let me see if they want to keep it inverted. Yeah, so with cards in reverse, there are different ways you can read it, but what I'm getting with this one is a clearing out of the internal space. You know, what did this say? Karmic release, radical transformation. All of this fire with the Emperor on top of, really trying to bring in that wisdom, that strength, just understanding reality a bit more, and not getting knocked off our perches, not falling into the pit of despair, like not denying those moments either. Like I really am not trying to diminish that, but not letting it hold you and bind you for so long. Just being a little bit more expansive with that. So Jupiter conjunct the North Node. Where are we headed? Where are we headed? Where are we headed? Where are we headed? What are we doing? Where are we headed? Why am I make me repeat that quite a few times? Yeah, love really enjoying this reading, actually. I've been in a space with that Jupiter conjunction of the North Node of really slowing down and not wanting to communicate in the same with the same veracity, of just wanting just to embody it on a personal level. And it's been an interesting one to work through, because Jupiter in Aries for me was very much like share all the information all the time. And so it's this sense of expansion of the wisdom that we're going to find on a personal level is going to be very subjective and obviously very personal to everybody. And I've spoken about this a lot on this channel of, we're here to be the individual that's working with the collective. We're here to be able to walk with integrity, walk our talk. And the more that we do that, the less boundaries and restrictions and frustrations that we come across in life, the more we are capable of being our individual selves in a collective without having our rights and our ability to express ourselves taken away from us. I feel like we are building that. We are building that now. And my head just moved. They tend to do that if it's what you just said has validity. And yeah, definitely picking that up from this, that we're getting a big download that's helping with that journey. So Jupiter's very much entwined with the North and South Node. North Node where we're headed, the South Node what we're letting go of, in very simple terms. So Jupiter's helping us both expand these things and see the wisdom in what it is that we need to be doing, what the final degrees of the North and South Node in Taurus and Scorpio, of what we're letting go of, and how are we able to embody through wisdom the striving that and our need to express ourselves in that Taurian area of our lives. Jupiter is also still in a square with Mars. So this square with Mars is in Leo, and so this is the actions that we take from a heart space, feeding into the wisdom of our physical body and our senses. What motivation and drive are we taking in order to champion and take action of our own innate wisdom? And so this energy of Mars is pouring into Jupiter, that's pouring into the moon, of like, right, how is this reflecting in the actions that we take in the long term? Because Mars is also from a heart space, Mars is also trine the moon. And so we've got Mars trine the moon. So interestingly, the two of swords have just come up. And even though we're dealing with Mars, which is taking action and motivation, and the moon in Sagittarius, which can, want us to express ourselves, we've got this card come up, which is all about pause. This is all about stillness. You notice how quiet the water is. There's a sense of calm, there's a sense of serenity, and the strength it must take to hold up these two swords in a state of meditation. Right, so that's a really interesting card to come up when I'm talking about this dynamic. So trines between Mars and the moon, this is free-flowing information of the wisdom coming in from the great attractor, feeding into Mars, of like, well, how does this motivate me from my heart? How does this give me drive to connect to that heart space? Because Leo rules the heart. But we need to follow the chain of command here, because the Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun is in Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And where's Mercury? In Taurus, ruled by Venus. So we've still got this, we've got Yang Day energy. So this is all the air and all the fire. I want to take action, and they're all kind of being governed by Venus and the moon and Jupiter. So there's a feedback loop there. And the yin night signs, that's taking time, that's stillness, letting things draw towards you. This is about finding the inner stillness in order to make decisions. This is about blocking off, well, she's blindfolded. So when we close off our senses, when we close down the clutter, wisdom comes through, right? So an understanding and an integration here. So even though I was talking about Mars and the moon, which can be about, I feel like this is a long-term integration energy coming in of how our actions, that martial energy is getting integrated with that, the truth of the heart, the truth of, and it's interesting, it's just gone underneath agape, which is, let me get the book. This is a sort of a way of saying universal love. That perhaps taking actions during this full moon that bring in a sense of stillness here, that interesting ideas are going to come through. A sense of calm, a sense of peace. That doesn't mean like not to take action ever, but just that's a really interesting combination to come in. There's a sense of devotion with agape. There's a sense of unconditional of love. And the Greek word agape informs the English word agape. To have the mouth agape is to be awestruck by something of breathtaking delight. We are made humble once again. It's just drawing in such a sense of gratitude and understanding of the sacred force that we are it, and it is surrounding us. It is incredibly powerful energy. This everything, love, all the good, the bad, the ugly, being able to burn that up into universal love. Again, with a smile on your face, guys, with a smile on your face. So yeah, Mars is making that square with Jupiter. So finding the wisdom of your heart space, of knowing what actions. Goodness me, guys. Is this all the aces? This is all the aces. I have never had all the aces come through. This is every suit, sword, pentacle, cup, wand. Total reboot. Total, not reboot, because that's implying scrapping what's happened before. This is total regeneration, renewal, you're building on what you've already been, but you're feeling fresh. You're feeling like that 10 of Wands burden is no longer weighting you down. Like that cage is so easy to move through. Like these decisions are simple to make. That there is confidence here. We've got another two. We've got we've got the 2 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, 2 of Swords. This is about survival mode. This is about survival mode. Okay, so they've just gone that with the karmic release, the radical transformation with the 8 of Swords and the Emperor. It's all up, and there's with 2s there's duality as well. So there's this, it's allowing that space to be there without getting it dominating that sense of that clarity, because we can still hold space for all of these things and through that understand our own truth. And I really like how the Ace of Swords came out last, because that is all about innate inner truth and renewal and clarity and understanding of reality. Okay. So the moon is not only trine Mars, but also trine Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron is in Aries, so another fire sign. And Chiron received, let's see what the time is. Okay, I'm going to try and speed up. Chiron is linked into this idea of wound that you have, whether that's an emotional wound, a spiritual wound, or a physical wound that doesn't quite heal. Like, it still lingers, it's still there, it's still present. And through that journey of holding space for that, you understand the wisdom from it. And this is one of the cards that came out in the meditation. This is from the Rumi's gift oracle card. Rumi was a spiritual mystic, Sufi mystic, and he wrote a lot of poetry about the divine. Interestingly, I just saw a meme about Rumi today, and it was like Rumi saying, I didn't write this poetry for your boyfriend, I wrote it for the divine creative force, because it's very much linked into love. Right, perspective. Let us break the wine jug and let the wine flow. Nothing will be left of these earthly things. Knowing we are nothing, we are free to be all that is and all that is not. Again, that duality coming in here. Both this and not this. Like a caterpillar, we devour worldly concerns and worries. You know, the worry, the twos there of and the eight of swords and the 10 of wands. But we become silent in the cocoon of love, right? So this is this stillness, this silence, and through that we find the love rather than the chaos. Then we settle in timelessness. Our home, okay, it's making me think about the great attractor where the moon is. Our home becomes the beloved's safe embrace. So they're just sort of fanning these on my heart chakra. When the heart is aflame, or sometimes we need to fan the fire to get it going. And this is what this moon feels like it's all about. A reignition to get everything going again. Okay. This energy is quite rampant. When the heart is aflame with love, it contains nothing and everything. And we are free to be all that is and all that is not. Now, she writes this description about this parrot that a shopkeeper hit when they broke... didn't hit it? Right, the shopkeeper grabbed a stick and hit the parrot on the head because the parrot had knocked over a jar of oil, and the parrot stopped speaking. And then one day a bald man, should have just read it out from the book. The parrot lost its plumage on its head when it was hit. And then a long time later, a bald man walked past the shop, and the parrot asked the bald man, "Oh, you broke an oil jar too?" And that's the story is essentially linked into perspective and how we make associations constantly. It's all, we're very much built for that a lot of those associations that we make are based off of trauma responses. And the reason why I wanted to pick up that card and talk about it with Chiron is that the more that we understand why we respond the way that we do based off our trauma responses, the more that we can sort of see the wisdom and medicine in that journey and be able to take a step back. You know, we are this and we are not this. Do not be bound. Do not limit yourself in a certain framework and a certain frequency. So I just paused because there is actually a strange frequency outside the house. I think they're doing building work. That it's not constant. You are open to change. So it's that perspective. We are this. We are not. We are caterpillars that consume the concerns and worries of the world around us. But I'm thinking off the top of my head what I just read. But in the arms of love, there is stillness and safety. There's a real sense of this, we're not this or that, we are everything. And I feel that this moon is that mutability, that expansive, that collective fire, the collective spirit, the collective passions of what are fundamentals to the passions of the human spirit. You know, there is joy, there is pleasure there is a desire to expand. I love that we got the Hermit card come up, because Jupiter, as I said, wisdom, the innate internal wisdom, the more that we cultivate this, the more the world opens up. But this is really highlighting that, you know, this is mutable energy, this is Virgo energy, that this full moon is, again, helping us bring in a wisdom from the cosmos, from this great attractor that is opening up the space, opening up the heart chakra, opening up the sense, the wisdom, the innate understanding that we can transmute into ourselves, that brings in this sense of universal love. We also had the mask come up here. Now, before reading the book, for me, it was like, so many of us are find ourselves having to mask and having to perform in different ways that actually might be detrimental to our soul. And these masks we can often shame and resent and find difficulty with, just it's so complex. It's such a complex thing, the human being. You know, it makes me think of the phrase that, you know, all the Shakespeare line of life, I'm gonna butcher this. Life is a play, and we are all players on the stage, right? I often think about our natal chart and how that is the initial blueprint of how we enact the play that we are incarnate in. And how powerful that can be. But it also, the masks that drain our soul, we can then start to resent and regret. You know, it was, you know, that 10 of Wands, the 8 of Swords, and it wanted to go with, I know my soul journey. I know that those are parts of the experience. And these cards wanted to come together, and I feel like it's an embodiment of acceptance of the masks that you've had to use. Find the power in them, find the wisdom in them, but also spending time getting back to that original mask and seeing how you can transmute that energy, that original creator energy, that mask of you are the universe. Because my personal opinion is we really are slowly but surely on this journey of truly embodying the magical divinity that is the human race. And I see this human body in the way that it is a phenomenon. It is a phenomenal, awe-inspiring, agape. I am in a gape. My mouth is agape in the wonder that is this human form. And sometimes our passions and our understanding of that can get really diminished. And we can go to one side or the other and go to extremes that trauma responses, our addictions can kick in, that masks for the pain that we feel, that we're not in this space, we're not in this frequency, we're not in this energetic space of unconditional love. That doesn't mean you can't be real with people, that doesn't mean you can't have preferences, but still holding the energetic principle of we are all connected, we are all one tribe, and that is every particle, quark, subquark of this particular universe, and the one before it, and the one before it, and the one after it, all of that. And so this perspective of, with that parrot, like, it then saw the consequences of what happened to it, and then applied that to everything around it. And we can limit ourselves. We can be in that box. We can, oh, those cards keep moving around, don't they? Yeah. Oh. that we are here in Earth School to encounter these things in order to break them. In order to switch those perspectives, change that dynamic, find the inner wisdom within, cultivate the true magic. All of you, every single one of you watching has the capacity to I'm in awe of all of you. The people that I meet and the people that I engage with are just, you blow my tiny little mind at the wonder of our existence. Speaking of addiction, got the devil. Maybe it's wanting me to go back to that addiction point. I was dealing with Chiron there. Chiron in Aries. When I was talking about that perspective of how our pains, our traumas can then recreate that environment around us. We can make assumptions. We put on masks. We hide ourselves. We hide from the pain. We hide from the truth. And this is helping to unmask that. Helping to bring in a boost from the cosmic attractor that can see past light bends, seeing beyond that what we can even comprehend, and bringing vitality and light to the Ace of Swords was the last ace that came out. That clarity, that light bending. God, imagine being a light bender. I'm just thinking of the last airbender. You think about how we've got all the elements and then light as that cosmic element, that divine source from the center of the universe, that creation energy. The chakras are the light prism, or they're all from light broken up into our bodies. Right. Where are we at? We are at an hour and a half. So Venus trining Neptune. Why is Venus important? Well, the two rulers of this lunation are in her sign. So we look to Venus because what's going on with Venus will be impacting what's going on with them. And we have Venus trine Neptune, which I talked about a little bit at the beginning. This is a beautiful trine, very inspirational, but coming from a comfort space. So some of the cards have suggested just chill over the new moon. Obviously do what's the full moon, my apologies. Obviously do what's right for you. But it could be that just being at home, doing something that you love, Venus in the sign of Cancer, which is linked into the home, engaging in something that nourishes you as well as other people, and allowing to see what wisdom comes in from the mystical, magical, multi-dimensional Neptune of this table exists and it also doesn't. Again, that duality of, yes, this reality is very loud and proud, but it also is not the only one and it's not the only thing going on. Maya, the illusion of that Eight of Swords. We are capable of both living within that cage and living outside of it. One does not invalidate the other. Do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So Neptune and Venus very with a trine. So this is supportive wisdom bringing energy. Trines are an aspect of Jupiter. Wants to elevate, expand, bring a sense of inspiration coming in, opportunities to connect to our personal sense of creativity and love and value, to that of the mystical, the universal, the creation energy of the universe, which I feel like we access through Neptune. The quantum field that during this time is very watery energy, right? So that Ace of Cups coming in is all of this feeling inspired to think beyond our current reality and connecting to that creatively with love and value and appreciation of Venus is feeding into Jupiter, Mercury and Uranus, as well as the North Node and Vesta, which is impacting the Sun and the Moon. So again, we've got connections to bigger things, bigger than this day-to-day, feeding into this full moon on the Great Attractor. I can't not stress that enough, that I've never had 4 aces before, and I'm just looking back at the Devil card with the Mask and Agape. Shame, resentment, rejection don't work in the long term. I've never been thinking of addiction. I've talked about this a fair amount. I'm not a fan of the 12-step program. I've had my own addiction issues. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people, but I find the whole idea of once you fall off the wagon, whatever wagon it is that you're trying to give up, the wagon is the one taking you forward. That's such an interesting. Anyway, once you fall off the wagon, that you go back to zero, and it's denying the journey. Oh, thank you for that. That's just reminding me of the sort of the main tenet of the Sagittarian energy is enjoying the journey, including like the little side missions, the side quests that we go on. Not the A to B, the linear time frame of this navigating in a mutable way where sometimes we can really forget how far we've come, even if we fall off that wagon. And the 12-step program is so like cut and dry. It doesn't acknowledge that for whatever reason this has happened, but we've still got that far. We've still integrated in a certain way. For me, dealing with addiction is all about long-term integration. It takes time, and you may find it that, and it's a complicated thing. But my point is this coldness that can come with rejection, with separation, with starting all over again. This denial of the experience that you've just had is counterproductive, right? So again, that Sagittarian energy of being aware of the journey that you've been on, enjoying the small moments, enjoying the detours. You're still going to get there in the end. And just because you've had a detour doesn't mean you have to start all over again. Because I feel like sometimes we can often feel like that, especially if we're doing manifestation work or if we're calling on the universe and we want this, that, and the other. And the universe is kind of like, yeah, but there's this side quest you've got to do. Right? It's all going to be different for everybody, but, really lean into the journey rather than the outcome. Because that's life, that's the existence of this universe in this 3D reality that we're very consciously aware of, that linear frame, that friction, that movement, that expansion, that growth, that shrinking, that changing, that evolving. That's the thing. That's the thing here, and we shouldn't shame and reject the journeys that we've been on. If we make decisions that we want to do different things, then we try our best. Try our best. Not always going to be able to do that every day. And that's okay. That's really okay. And some bad things, and not bad things, some difficult things can turn up. And it doesn't mean that you're not being held. It doesn't mean my hands have just sort of gone into an embrace on me. It doesn't mean that we're not being held. It really doesn't. And that can be a really difficult thing to get around. Like, I remember channeling for the Venus in Pisces, again, mutable energy, and she's now in a fellow water sign, trining that Neptunian energy of Venus really wanted to let me know that every moment is truly divine. And that is a difficult thing to get your head around, because I'm sure we've all been through things that have really messed us up and seem cruel and seem crazy and mind-boggling, and I don't really have the words for those kind of things that haven't. They're all going to be subjective to you. That it's difficult going, yeah, no, that was a divine moment, but it's making us think about what is divine, right? Love and light. Is it just one side? Is it the chaos? Is it the darkness, the unknown, that which doesn't feel safe? That's what I love about mutable energy, is being able to hold space for these things and not feel like one denies the other, or that there is a hierarchy and a prioritization, Yeah. The more that we open up to acceptance, doesn't mean we have to like it, doesn't mean we have to agree with it, but just seeing clearly what's there. Okay, these two cards just seem to want to come out. It's the Page of Cups and the Queen of Wands. So I was just shuffling and they half flipped out both times. Page of Cups is about creative imagination, messages coming in, but it's a really playful page. And it's about being, you know, talking to a fish, guys, right? Piscean energy, the magic, the mystery, the fun, the pleasure of emotions, and how we can get so such beautiful things can come out of them. And we've got the Queen of Wands. So she's very much able to cultivate that internal passion, cultivate that creativity. Really like that combination, because there's that sense of authority of the Queen of Wands, that sense of I know what it is that I want and I know what I'm doing, and being able to cultivate that in a fire, along with that Page of Cups of, hey, let's look at life. Let's smile. Let's find some creative ways, some love ways to deal with this. Who's that? King of Pentacles. You know, very Jupiter and Taurus here. We've got a lot of court cards coming up. There's a lot of interaction with different parts of us. We've got the King of Pentacles. That's long-term legacy. That's abundance. That's through this energy we're going to get to. With that, it's wanting to go over the Hermit. With exploring our own innate wisdom. And seeing the magic that is there, the strength that is there. What are they wanting to do there? The power, the power of that King of Pentacles is bringing things into the 3D, right? So that's Jupiter and Taurus right now, bringing things into the 3D that can not necessarily be feel like they're inherently tangible, but being able to create an environment that is based off of that energy. Is there anything, I mean, there's lots of other stuff going on with the astrology that I'm really loving, but we're nearly at an hour and 45 minutes. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think a very clear messages have been coming through for us all. Jupiter is coming up to a sextile with Saturn, which will be the first main aspect that Jupiter and Saturn are making together since the grand conjunction that happened on the winter solstice in 2020. So this is a big deal. I've just done a Jupiter series, but I'm aiming to do a Saturn series with Jupiter and Taurus, because Jupiter is ruling Saturn right now because Saturn's in Pisces. So this is very potent energy here, and that's sort of, it's sort of there. We're coming up to that sextile. It's 3 degrees away, exactly. And so we've got a little while before that's building, but this is all being seeded here at this time of this creative energy between karma and wisdom. Keanu Reeves, who I've spoken about on the Jupiter and Taurus video, because he has Jupiter and Taurus, but he's also got Saturn in Pisces. He's actually, and the embodiment of Keanu is very much what we're being governed by right now. I'm probably going to talk more about that. I'm going to do a Saturn transit with Jupiter, so I'll be talking a lot more about that. But yeah, videos to check out. Definitely, I would go back to that Taurus new moon. I feel like it's a really important one for us to still keep it fresh in our minds. I felt like that message was like a timeless message. Particularly also because we've got Jupiter and Taurus, that series as well, the most recent one, that's impacting all of us, obviously, for the next year. I'm going to be doing a all 12 signs video series, collective reading. That was Perseverance, but felt the need to put that back in the deck. I feel like that's what we've been doing. Yeah, I'm going to be doing an all 12 signs reading for this full moon, just putting a couple of cards to see what comes up. This can be a great time of doing fire rituals. Be safe with fire if you do. Feel however you feel inclined to take action. But I will just say, give yourself some space, doesn't have to be for very long, where you are still in your body, and try and diminish all the outside world stuff. I mean, there's lots of things that I want to repeat that I've said with the Jupiter and Taurus video, but for those of you who've already watched that, I don't want I don't want to completely repeat myself, but there was just a article about this boy who saved this school bus from crashing over because he wasn't on his phone, and that was on the day of the Jupiter ingress. So I just feel like, because Jupiter is ruling this moon, like the more we sort of understand what's going on with Jupiter, the more that we can embody that collective universal fire of passion and drive that's gonna come. Not wanting to come out, not wanting where was I? So I'm just going to pull some quick overall messages from, this is the numerology deck. I love how we started with the Ace of Pentacles. We did, trust me, we really did, even though I did have to stop the video. And with the King of Pentacles. So that's the beginning and the end of that Earth cycle. Really enjoyed that. Again, Jupiter's in Taurus. So this is our 3D form, our 3D reality, getting a lot of support from fire and air and the water. We've got a fair balance, but it's been mostly fire, mostly air, a bit of water. Coming in and clearing the decks in order for us to integrate. Okay, they're not wanting a card from here. I've missed the mystical shaman. Okay, maybe that's why they were like, no, don't read from here. We've already got a card that we want. So this card actually came up on the Mercury in Taurus transit video. So it's very interesting that this is coming up now when we're dealing with both Mercury and Jupiter. The mystical shaman, the essence. This is the symbol of the myth maker, the storyteller, who is neither made of nor defined by the story. So again, perspective, clearing energy from Chiron, allowing space for that story to hold you and not define you. Instead, he observes it, evolves through it, perceives all aspects of it. In doing so, the mystical shaman represents the ability to dream a new story, a new myth into being. He dances between worlds, wearing the cloak of the world loosely around his shoulders, and sings the world into being. He reminds us to be in the world and travel through it, but not to be defined by it or become too attached to the experience. This is the symbol of true alchemy, for all elements of life have a spiritual aspect and a material one. When we remember this, all manner of miracles and manifestations are possible. When the mystical shaman appears, you're invited to consider the ability to live without attachment. Interestingly, we got the Hermit come up here as well, which is just under this King of Pentacles, which is about sort of getting life a bit simpler, not being in the hustle and bustle. I mean, you can do this while still be living in the city. Like, it's not. Yeah, I've just been getting the message from the planets of just slow down, just a little bit. You are called to create and dream your life, to act on inspiration and divine impulse without fixating on a known story of success or achievement. And that's again linking into that Jupiterian energy or that Sagittarius energy of just enjoy the journey, not the end point. Like, don't limit yourself. You can have an idea of what it is, but then just surrender it, like that card said. Can you impartially observe the stories you tell yourself and others? What if you could become a mystery to yourself? Who would you become if you stopped telling the tales that have defined you up until now? You do not have to live in a story that has roots in the past. What if there was no need to explain you to anyone, not even to yourself? The way to your most extraordinary life is to become a blank slate and allow the form of your dreams and desires to show up as it will. This is a sign of manifesting a life beyond your wildest dreams. Now, I love that linked into what I was saying about, we've got 4 aces. That's renewal. That's starting again, not denying the past. We're not denying the past here, but do you need to tell that story? Do you need to repeat that story in order for you to create a new one? So again, with the Hermit, the boundaries, we've got this ability to, with that download coming from the Great Attractor, we are being fed energetic information that is helping us release ourselves from old stories, helping us release ourselves from ideas of how we expand, giving us the space to find a little bit of joy in this renewal, a little bit of stillness, a little peace that is, you know, setting up. We've got the Emperor and the King of Pentacles. There's loyalty here, there's consistency here, and there's wisdom. There's a real beautiful energy, this energy coming in of this yang day energy, that's being facilitated by the yin, the night, the receptivity of the download. I just want to get all the aces out, guys. Is there one card I didn't talk about? No, I did them all. Okay. So, in order of appearance, we got these two first and these two following. So, yeah, pretty powerful stuff here. Pretty powerful stuff. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If any of this resonated, don't forget to hit the like button, or subscribe if you're a new viewer. Hello and welcome. I would love to hear from you all because I'm greedy. But another way, on a personal level, just love to hear from you. But if you want to help the algorithm, leaving a comment, even if it's just an emoji, that really helps boost it out there. Oh, that reminds me, I've hit 101 subscribers, and I'm going to be doing a competition when we get to 111 subscribers. And I will be doing a competition for free private mini reading. I will talk more about that in future videos, but just to let you know, there will be a competition coming up, wanting to provide luck and opportunities and expansion with Jupiter. So I really appreciate all of your time. Be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again.